90% of the time, network engineers are troubleshooting problems in the network that are not related with the network at all. And they don't do it by guessing where the problem is, but by analyzing how the packet travels in the network. And the way to do it is by using a tool called Wireshark. Wireshark is a packet capture and analysis tool that you can use to sniff traffic from your routers, switch, firewalls, servers, and even PC. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to start using Wireshark to troubleshoot problems in your network. Okay, this is the topology that we'll be using. It's quite a simple one. So we only have one user PC here with the IP address 192.168.1.2. We have a router with two network interface cards. We have one of them with the IP address 192.168.1.1 and the other interface with the IP address 192.168.2.1. And we have the server with the IP address 192.168.2.2. Okay, do we have a complaint from user PC? He's not able to access a page on this Linux server, and we have to figure out what is the problem just by using Wireshark and the information that we have available. We're not allowed to access the router because this is a network device. We don't have access to it, and we're not allowed to make any change on our one. So we should troubleshoot this and try to come up with what might be the problem and recommend the solution to that. Okay, so first thing first, let's make sure that we have end-to-end reachability. That's normally what we would do in a real scenario. Okay, so if we go to user PC, so the first thing we want to validate is that actually we have the network parameters correct. So if we go to, what is it? Network. What do we want to see? We want to see, okay, what is the IP address on this user PC? And actually start to take notes of this information. So I'm just going to use Notepad for this. So the IP address is going to be 1.2. Okay, the default gateway, and just going to be 192.1.1. So that should be the router IP address, and we're going to validate that. Do we need anything else? No, we don't. Okay, that's great. First, let's check whether we can reach our router 1.1. Yeah, it looks like we can. That's great. So what about the server? So let's just double check that we have all the information required there. So let's go to wire settings, and we should see the IP address 192.168.2.2. Okay, so instead of gateway, I'm just going to say R1 just to make it easier. So that's going to be Linux server, and Linux server IP address should be 2.2, yes, and the gateway or R1 IP address 2.1. Okay, so just make sure that we can reach R1 from Linux server. Okay, so if I ping 2.1, okay, that works as well. That's great. Now, this is a web server, so just make sure that we have the service running. And if I go to 192.168.2.2, okay, so the web server service it's running, so that should be okay. Now, if you go back to Linux 1.1, okay, if I try to reach 2.2, it looks like we also have reachability, which means that routing is working just fine. Okay, so now let's try to bring the browser and try to go to the same IP address. So that's going to be 192.168.2.2. And seems like there is a problem, it's not working. Okay, so now we have to try to understand, okay, what is the problem? What seems to be the problem? So is it on the user PC side? Is it on the Linux server side? How can we validate this? Okay, so let's bring Wireshark. So I'm just going to click here and click on capture. So while troubleshooting, we want to be able to capture the packet that are leaving the source host and that are arriving on the destination host. Okay, so there's a lot going right now. So this is the first time you're looking at Wireshark. Don't feel intimidated. So this is quite simple. So all we want to look here is at the source IP address and the destination IP address. So I'm just going to scroll a little bit up to stop auto scrolling. And so let's send an ICMP packet. So let me bring the client. Is it the one? I think that's the green desktop. Yeah, let me bring this down. So let's send an ICMP packet. So we should see ICMP packet here, and we have, okay, so let's try to understand what we have here. So looking at the Wireshark, so if we just select this part, we can see that, okay, it says that the source, okay, if you look at this column here, so we have the time, but we're not going to look at this because it doesn't matter what time I'm running this. But if we look at the source, that should say, okay, who is initiating this communication? In this case, it's 1, 2, and we know this is user PC IP address. And the destination 192.168.2.2, we know that's the Linux server IP address. Okay, it's great. And if we want to look into details, we can look at this section here, and it's going to kind of show us like the OSI model, where we have application, networking, data link layer, all of this stuff. So the thing is that here we have kind of backwards, like this is the physical, the data link, the network, and then the kind of the application layer. Okay, that's not, okay, don't, that's not how it is. I'm just saying it's easier for you to look at it as like the OSI model, but backwards. Okay, so the thing we want to look here is at these details. Okay, the MAC address. So is it the MAC address of user PC? We can confirm this real quick. If we run the command if config, okay, and let's see the Ethernet address, that seems to be the same, 50FF6600. Okay, so we know, okay, this is user PC MAC address. I'm just going to copy, and if we want, we can copy this information as well. So just highlight these and right click with your mouse and then select copy value, and we're going to paste this here. So our user PC MAC address, oh, that's too much. So that should be the source. Let me delete this. So we just want to collect this information. Now the destination MAC address here is going to be R1 MAC address, because user PC and the server, they're not in the same network. And if we look here at the destination, this should be R1 MAC address, and we can confirm this if we run, let's see, that's not the terminal we want. Let's just run ping to 192.168.1.1, so just 1. If we scroll to the bottom, it should see that we send to 1.1. That should be the from 1.2 to 1.1, so 1.1, and the MAC address, that should be the same one, AABB. I'm just going to copy this one, copy value, and paste this here. Okay, so that's not what I want. Okay, so MAC address, no. Okay, so we have R1 MAC address, so it's okay. And we don't need to look at the server side, but we know that from user PC, we're able to reach Linux server just at a ping reachability test, okay? Now, a good way to validate that we have the communication happening at the same time is to run the capture on both devices at the same time, meaning we should be able to capture the packets that are leaving user PC and are arriving Linux server at the same time. So let's open the capture also on the server side on E0 interface. That's the only interface we have available there. And so now let's try to put this side to side. So this is user PC capture screen, and this is Linux server. So we want to see when we send a packet leaving user PC, we should see something happening here, and we should see also something happening here on the Linux server side. So let's bring the user PC, that's the one. Okay, so instead of sending to 1.1, let's send to 2.2. and let's send 3 packets. Okay, and let's see if we can capture these at the same time. Okay, I'm going to send the packet, and we can see, okay, so the packets, they left the user PC and they arrived on the Linux server. Okay, so we can see from the user PC perspective, the source IP address 192.168.1.2, destination is going to 2.2. Okay, this is ICMP echo request, and we can see the same kind of same packet here, sourcing from 1.2, destination 2.2, echo request, and then we have the reply from the Linux server. Now it's the source IP address, and the destination is going to be user PC, and it's arriving here. So we can see that ping is working. We can also validate here that it's working. That's great. So now let's do the test using the browser, and we expect to see the same thing happening, right? HTTP on the user PC and HTTP arriving on the server side. So if I refresh this, okay, let me do a hard refresh here, and it looks like or something happening here. Now, if we want, we can just filter specifically what we want to see. So in this case, let's just select 192.168.2.2 as the destination, and let's apply as filter. Okay, that's great. And we want to capture, so HTTP uses TCP, so we should see sourcing from 1.2, destination 2.2.2, and we have here, so that seems like what we want. So that's a TCP on port 80. Okay, that's great, but we don't see anything arriving here on the Linux server, which tell us that there is something happening between user PC and the Linux server. Okay, which is great. So the only thing we have left is to look at R1, because we have ping working, but we don't have HTTP working. And we can do another test. So for example, let's bring the captures again. I'm going to just leave it to 2 as the destination. And so let's try, that's going to be, I'm just going to close this one. So let's try to telnet to 192.168.2.2 port 80. And so we can see that the packet left user PC but didn't arrive anything here. So what about 443? Okay, nothing there. So it looks like there is something restricting this type of communication between these two servers, between these two PCs. So but if we try to reach 2222, we can see that it's arriving. Okay, so the conclusion might be that we have a problem on R1. So now let's check R1. And here on R1, now going to be quite straightforward. So if we look at R1 configuration, we're going to find okay, there is an access list applied, and it's blocking explicitly HTTP and HTTPS traffic, at least traffic on those 2 ports. And this is applied on these directions on the interface facing user PC. Okay, so okay, and we can look at the access list in very detail, like ACL, deny, web. We can see there is a lot of match there here in this ACL, and that's the reason why it's not working. And we are able to come to this conclusion just by using Wireshark to troubleshoot the problem. Now, to use Wireshark, you don't have to be an expert or a network engineer. Anyone who has some basic understanding of IP address should be able to use this tool on a daily basis. So if you took value from this video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next one.